Welcome to the Purpose-Driven Mom Show, episode 427. Today, we are going to talk about procrastination and that fear of failure that might be holding you back. I know it's not a fun topic, but I've been coaching a lot of women in the Purpose-Driven Mom Club, and we've really just been diving into this, like, why do I feel like I keep getting in my own way? This, like, very self-sabotage type of mindset. And I thought, we should talk about this now because the holiday season is like here, and it's really easy to put off those goals that you made for yourself for 2024 because other things have to get done. And I want to talk a little bit today about why I think we procrastinate sometimes, what the fear of failure might be doing and how it's harming you in your goals, and what we can do about it. Show notes, they're going to be over at purposedrivenmom.com/podcast 427. So again, episode 427. It's wild to think about. Thank you so much for listening, for sharing. If you haven't left a rating or review, head over. We'd really appreciate it. Now, friend, I want to talk to you specifically right now because I know that you have a goal that is something you wanted to do this year. Get it in your head. Okay, give it a second. I know mine. I had two goals this year. One I've released and one I'd still like to do. And one is heavier than the other. One was I wanted to write a children's book. I thought about it in December. I kept thinking, I know the children's book, and I don't know, I might bring it back for 2026, but I really wanted to get it published this year. And I blessed and released it because I found myself procrastinating. So I'm going to use that as example one as we go through this. And example two is a light hobby goal, is I wanted to learn how to crochet. I wanted to crochet. I kept putting it off, and I have not done that. All right. So I want you to think of one or two goals that you have in your personal life, one or two goals that you might have in your business that maybe haven't been accomplished yet. And we're going to kind of do a little analysis to dive into why you might be procrastinating and how we can decide if they're a goal that you want to move forward with or not. So, what is procrastination? It's the most simplest term, right? It's just delaying things. It is delaying things that could move your goals forward. And there's a few reasons we procrastinate. I think overwhelm is actually one of the top ones. A lot of times we shame ourselves, right? Oh, I can't do this. I'm not moving forward. I'm the worst. When really, one of the top reasons we're most likely procrastinating is because we're so overwhelmed with everything else we have going on in our lives, everything else we have going on in our homes, that thinking about one more thing, the crocheting for me, that's like, it's not a fear of failure. It's literally just, I'm so overwhelmed with everything else that I cannot think of one more thing. Okay. So I want you to think through the goal I just gave you. Are you procrastinating because of that? Is it decision fatigue? Is it imposter syndrome? Let's talk a little bit deeper about each of those. Okay. So let's start with digging into that root cause I talked about, which is overwhelm or lack of time. I want you to ask yourself, am I not participating in this goal right now because I literally don't have the time for it? In this season of life, am I struggling because I just can't fit it in? This is real. I think there are strategies that we can use to find the time to work on some of our things. I'll talk to you. I had a couple craft goals this year. I wanted to finish a latch hook pillow, which took me, it was supposed to be a spring pillow. I started in January. I got done in the end of May. So I got to enjoy it for a little bit of time. So it did take longer, but I found myself procrastinating it because of my overwhelm, my lack of time. I did want to also learn this year how to cross stitch, which I taught myself in just a few weeks. So that was really nice. I didn't have to take too long on that. And then the crocheting, it just kept getting pushed off my list. Okay. So what did this look like in real life? I had this goal of the pillow. Let's talk about this latch hook pillow. I really wanted to do it, but I found myself putting it off. Every time I would put in my schedule, I'm going to work on my latch hook pillow for 15 minutes. I'm going to work on my latch hook pillow for 15 minutes. That 15 minutes kept getting stolen by something else. That 15 minutes kept getting taken by the dishes, by this task that popped up, right? And also by my own exhaustion. So think about your goal. Is that what's really happening? This is what I think a lot of us think about when we think about why we're procrastinating. It's, I just don't have the time. So this is layer one. You might originally think it's because you don't have the time. We're going to get into the other layers, but is this the cause? When it came to my latch hook, I'm going to go through the imposter syndrome, decision fatigue, perfectionism in a second. It really was truly, truly about it. That really was the root cause. I just did not have the time. Now, I got the pillow done. I wanted to get it done in 3 months. It took me almost 6. But I was able to find the time because I made a plan around it, which we'll talk about the plan in a little bit after we talk about root causes. But I was able to make a plan to not procrastinate. I didn't get my goal done in the time I wanted. And my brain could have easily said, well, you're a failure. You're a loser. You didn't do it. You said you were going to show up and you didn't. But instead, my brain was like, cool. I'm really proud of you. You got this pillow done, right? It took me longer than I wanted. It wasn't as enjoyable for me because I was like stretching it out at the end. I was like, I just want to finish this pillow, but I did it. Okay. And it truly was just because I had an overwhelming schedule and a lack of time. So look at your goal. Maybe that's you. Now, the other thing that often leads us to procrastinate is perfectionism. And I always caution people to not use perfectionism as a tool to procrastinate. You know, man, perfectionism, right? I think we think as moms, we need to show up a certain way. I think if it doesn't look a certain way, we can't do it. Now, let me give you this example with the pillow. I finished the pillow. It really was a lack of time. But if it was perfectionism, what my thoughts could have been were, well, I said I was going to do this pillow and have it done before the spring, and I didn't. So there's no point in working on it. That's what it could have sounded like, right? A lot of times the perfectionism says this voice of, if I can't do it perfectly, I won't do it at all. And what it does is it leads us to inaction, especially when you're trying to balance your mom life with your personal goals or your business goals. I think about this when it comes to running right? Like running is something I enjoy doing when I'm done. Every year I make some sort of running goal, but there have been years I didn't because I would disqualify myself because of perfectionism. Well, I can't start running now because I'm so slow and I have to walk. And because I have to walk, I shouldn't go run at all. Now, logical brain knows that this is an incorrect state. Logical brain's like, well, that doesn't make any sense, Cara. How are you ever going to run if you don't start with walking? But perfectionist brain says, I have to show up there. And this is where perfectionism holds us back. Our brains in perfectionist mode think, I need to show up as the person I would be who completed the goal while I'm working on the goal, right? I need to show up as a super fast runner while I'm started. And perfectionism doesn't allow us to be a beginner. Perfectionism doesn't allow for us to not know how to do something. Perfectionism doesn't allow for any mistakes. It doesn't allow for our humanity. It doesn't allow for any grace. Are you doing that with your goal? Are you thinking, I can't work on this because I can't show up in this way. I can't save any money, right? So, or like I want to save for this big thing, but I'm struggling to save any money at all. So I shouldn't even try. Do you feel like your brain says that about your goals? Is it the perfectionism? Is it the, well, I'd love to have a 3-hour Bible study in the morning, but I can't get up that early. I was just talking to some moms this morning at drop-off line about working out. My friend and I, we somehow got our Apple Watches synced to each other. So she'll text me once a couple months ago. I was like, great job on your workout. And I was like, what are you talking about? So every time I work out, she gets a notification. I don't even know how to take it off. So she always sees that I work out. And I work out in the morning before I pick my kids up or take my kids to school, I mean. And we were talking about it, and she's like, I don't know how you do that, like how you squeeze in a workout in such a short amount of time. I get up at 6 and we leave at 8:30. So that gives me 2.5 hours to get my kids ready, do everything, shower, workout. It's tight. My mornings are tight, but it is enough time for me to get those things done. Perfectionist brain would say, well, I can't do a 40-minute workout, so I shouldn't even bother with a 20-minute workout, right? I wanted to start for my mornings adding in reading, positive personal growth reading. So in order to do that right now, I'm struggling to get up before 6. My body is like 6 is a good time. I like 6. 6 feels good. Anything before that, it's like not gonna happen. So my choices right now, and this is a choice I just made, were I'm not going to worry about creating a morning reading routine because I just don't have the time. Or I asked myself, how can I adapt what I currently have? So I just finished a workout program I was doing, 40-minute workout, 4 times a week. And I said, you know what? I found this new workout program online. It's 5 days a week for 20 minutes. Perfectionist brain could say, well, that's less, right? That's not as much as you were doing. So you're not going to see results. So don't even bother. But because I self-coach, I realize that's not true, right? If I'm getting in any sort of movement, it's going to count, right? I'm excited about it. And now that I'm only exercising for 20 minutes instead of 40 to 45, I can now use 10 to 15 of those minutes to start to create a habit around my morning reading. So that maybe later after this program, I increase it and I'm able to figure it out without having to get up earlier. That's problem solving brain. This is the brain you want to have. You want to have the problem solving brain that moves you forward and not the perfectionist brain that holds you back. Now, listen, I'm going to be real. Perfectionism does stop me in my tracks sometimes. But because I've worked on it for so long, I can pause and say to myself, is this perfectionism? Am I not trying because I can't do it perfectly? Right? Or is it something else? So I want you to look at your goal. Is that why you're procrastinating? Or is it this last one, which is the fear? Oh gosh, I know. Let's talk about it. Let's get deep rooted, right? Layer one, we think we don't have the time. But layer two, is it really we're just being a perfectionist and it doesn't look a certain way? Or is it layer three? And again, it could be all three of these. Layer three, actually, I'm afraid I'm going to fail. Actually, I am afraid I'm not qualified. I'm struggling with imposter syndrome. What if people judge me? What if I try and I fail? What if, okay, let's talk about the conference. The conference just happened when this is recording. When I'm recording this, the conference happens next week. When this airs, the conference has already happened. So the conference has not happened yet, but I'm going to talk about it because one of the scary things about doing an in-person event and sharing it publicly is what if it flops? This is everything in business. And it took me, I've wanted to have this conference since I started my business, 7 years to finally decide, I don't care if it fails, I'm going to try anyway. So it happens, right? Well, you have to get to that mindset. And I shared about it. We wanted to sell 50 tickets. We have 22 people at this moment coming to the event. It's not 50, but I'm so thrilled for every single one of these people. I cannot wait to get to meet them. But there is that fear of judgment. Oh, Cara's doing this event, but she only has 20 people. Is she even a real business owner, right? Now, here's the thing. That voice I just gave you, I can't guarantee, but a high probability nobody's thinking that. That's my inner critic. Her name is Julia, and that's her telling me I'm not good enough. Fear of failure comes from up here in your brain. It comes from this inner critic. It comes from this place of judgment. It comes from this place of you self-judging and then projecting it externally. Well, people are going to think I don't know what I'm doing. I can't start training for a half marathon. What are people going to think? What if I fail again? If you have had a pattern of trying things and not doing them, like a human being does, your brain is thinking, oh, if we do this and we fail again, everybody's going to think we're a failure. Is this going to prove that I'm a failure? What if I try and I say, I'm going to start a business, but this is like my 6th time starting? What if people judge? A bigger one too with this procrastination is that imposter syndrome. I could never, right? Again, the running. I have run this 10-mile race. It's in Philadelphia where I live 4 times. And it's hard and scary. And my brain is like, I am not a small person, right? Like I'm overweight. I'm pretty fit. I work out. I fail myself. I find myself actually very fit. I just am heavy and it's cool. Like it's just what my body looks like, right? But my brain wants to say, oh, you could never. Like, look how big you are. You're gonna run 10 miles. Like, that's cute, right? My brain wants to make me feel like I'm unqualified. When I wrote my book 3 years ago, when this book came out, who am I to? And again, it happened with the conference. These people are flying in. Only one person actually lives in Philadelphia, which is a wild thought. They are spending money. They are investing in this weekend with me. Who am I? Who am I to run this? And that's what the voice sounded like. And so I procrastinated sharing about it. I could have shared about the conference more than I did, but I found myself procrastinating because of that fear. And I had to coach myself through. I had to put on my big girl panties, if you will, and be like, guess what? You need to try. we need to move forward. And that's what I want for you. So looking at your goal, I want you to identify, like, why am I procrastinating? Like, what's the root cause? And now let's give some tips of how we can kind of show up and change that thought pattern. The first thing, the no fun thing, is we need to change our mindset. We need to reframe what failure is. I am at the point, 40 years of my life, I have failed a ton. And here's the thing. I love a challenge. I love to try things. I want to look at them as I learned. And there have been so many mistakes, so many emails I've sent out with the wrong link, times I've tried to sell something and no one buys it. There is so much. My mindset has now become like, okay, if it fails, what did I learn? I want to become a detective about it. So looking at one of the goals that maybe you failed this year, pick a goal you failed at. I wanted to lose weight this year, like I mentioned. I'm trying. I've lost 10 pounds, which is great, but I wanted to lose like 40. I've lost 10. My brain wants to make it think it's a failure. But I want to look at it as, how did I show up for the goal? And what did I learn from this goal? I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about what foods make me feel good and what don't. I learned a lot about my strength. When you reframe failure in this way of like, I am going to learn, your brain feels less scared. It doesn't have to save you as much. And also stepping into the quote arena, right? Teddy Roosevelt has that quote about stepping into the arena. Brene Brown repurposes it in her books. Don't judge somebody unless they're in the arena with you. When you step into the arena, when you try another goal, when you push yourself past procrastination and into action, that is really the success. I talk to myself all the time and I'm always like, I'm proud of you. Way to show up, Cara. You did that. Like, I was working out this morning and the new workout, it's 20 minutes, but it's intense. It goes fast. And I really pushed myself because with my 40-minute program, I found myself kind of dogging it a little bit at the end because I was kind of tired. I was over it. With this, it's so fast. I'm like, no, I'm going to give it my all for 20 minutes. And I was like speeding through my little runs or whatever. I lifted heavier than I normally would have. And I found myself saying, great job. Great job. Now, I injured my arm a year ago. I tore ligaments in it and pinched a nerve in my shoulder. I went to about 4 months of physical therapy. It's still not 100%, right? It's better, but there's so many things I can't do. And my brain wants me to get back in that perfectionism of like a push-up, for example. Like, I just feel like my arm is about to fall out of its socket. It does not feel supported, right, by my weight in a push-up. There's certain moves that if I have to move my arm a certain way, it just hurts. So I have to lessen what I do. Perfectionist brain wants me to call that a failure. Do you not remember when you used to be able to do that? Again, I'll talk about the weight loss. Before I had my kids, I lost 70 pounds. I know how to lose weight. I'm a lot older, 10 years older than the last when I lost 70 pounds. My life is very different. My hormones are different, right? So perfectionist brain wants to say to me, you're a loser. You don't know how to do this. You know how to lose weight and you can't do it. This is another thing that we need to shift our mindset, is continuing to look behind us at what we used to be able to do and comparing it to what our current self can do. We will often put things off because we're like, well, I used to be able to do this. I used to be able to get these things done. And because current you can't, you feel like a failure. So it's like, why bother trying? Well, guess what? Current you is not past you and it's not future you. It's present you. And you need to honor that. All right. So reframing failure is going to be really important with moving forward and giving yourself the compassion, self-compassion to say, this is hard. I missed a day. I overate. I spent when I wasn't supposed to. I didn't record the podcast episode. I got behind on this thing. What can I do moving forward? Because when we stay in that victim mentality, when we stay in that victim mindset of I didn't do it now, so I'll never be able to do it, that fixed mindset versus the growth of I'll be able to change, we're not offering ourselves any compassion. We're being really mean. And we have a phrase in the Purpose Realm Club, stop shitting on yourself, right? And it's, you wouldn't talk to your kid this way. You wouldn't talk to a friend this way. So why are you beating yourself up for everything? I had a friend, she's in nursing school, and she's been doing great. Top grades. She texted me last night and said she got an 84, which, like, it's a B. It's a great grade, but she's disappointed in it because she's always gotten good grades on her test. And she was very hard on herself. The way she was, and I said, stop talking about my friend like that. Because the way she was speaking to herself, she would never have said that to me if I text her and said I failed at something. She would build me up. That's what we need to build ourselves up to. Now, when you're also trying to move out of procrastination because of this fear of failure, because of all of this stuff in our brains, I want to encourage you to do small steps. I always say with goals, we've got two things. We've got the completion goal. I want to run the 10 miles. Then we have the goal of the habit. I show up to run. Those are two different things. And those are two different things we're trying to accomplish. You need to look at, how am I showing up for this goal, and reward that. Did I go for a 15-minute walk today? When I remember, I've been trying to lose weight like my whole life. This is a life story. A lot of other people I'm sure have it. So I remember the summer between 8th and 9th grade, going to high school. I wanted to lose some weight. And I would run in my neighborhood. And instead of beating myself up for not being able to run around the whole block because I couldn't, I would push myself to do one mailbox more. One mailbox more, Cara. One mailbox more. Just do the next mailbox. Just hit the next mailbox. Took me all summer, but I could run around the block once. That's the mindset we need for ourselves. I showed up for my goal today. I'm proud of myself. When is the last time you told yourself you were proud of yourself? Because if you're not speaking it into you, it's no wonder that the external voice of failure is creeping into your brain. If you're not showing yourself compassion and love, if you're not celebrating the small task, I showed up today, even for 5 minutes, it counts, right? And okay, we talked about the brain, but let's get practical. Showing up for the 5 minutes, the 10 minutes, the 15, I made the 15-minute formula. I wrote the book for a reason, because it works. Showing up for 15 minutes allows me to actually get things done. I could get my whole set of dishes loaded in 15 minutes or less, right? I could do a lot more than I realize. And when you start to show up in, quote, just 15 minutes, and you look at it in these small chunks, then you start to make moves forward. So if you find yourself procrastinating on a task, on a goal, because of overwhelm, because of that fear of failure, because of the imposter syndrome, or all these things that are happening, the perfectionism, ask yourself, how can I show up in a small chunk? How can I put 5, 10, 15 minutes towards this goal today? When you start doing that, you start to kind of fill your bucket, right? Oh, great job, great job, great job. And you start to move forward. The other thing I'm going to ask is that you find a buddy. I talk about the Perfectionist Mom Club because it works. Having the external accountability. I have people who get on, and they tell me that they have made more progress in just a few weeks in the club than they've made in years, because they are having accountability. Find a buddy, find someone to check in with. Hey, I really need to go and write this blog post. Do you want to find like writing time? I did this when I wrote the book. I found a friend, we would get on Zoom, we would not talk to each other, and we would write. And it really, really helped. Find someone to check in with. Find someone when you're struggling. Find someone else that is not you, because it's very hard to hold ourselves accountable. We're reading in the Perfectionist Mom Club, The 4 Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin, right? And I am an upholder, which is one of the through and through. So most of the time, I can push myself to my goals, okay? But not all the time. I need external accountability too. But maybe you're someone who her personality is called the obliger, right? You need that external accountability. Get it, right? Get it in a way that works for you. Celebrate the way that you show up. I love a visual tracker. And so have a tracker. Check it off every time you show up for your goal. Have a little jar that you put pom-poms in. Get yourself a reward. I have this calendar over here. It's like a year-long calendar I bought on Amazon. And one of the ways I use it is for when I show up on my goals, so I can celebrate. And every time I do it, I want you to retrain your brain. Great job showing up. Check. I'm proud of you. Check. Showing up matters. Check. Speak it and it works. If you have a goal and you would like to still work on it this year, can I encourage you to not give it up, even though the holiday season is about to be busy? Can I encourage you to lean into it? Don't procrastinate it. Make it your priority right now that you're going to spend 5, 10, 15 minutes multiple times a week on this goal. Make your latch hook pillow, right? Start your podcast. Just because it's the holidays, it's not too late. Don't allow perfectionism to become your procrastination tool, and don't let fear be your anchor. Move forward with your goals. You still have a few months of the year. It is not over. All right, you can check out your show notes over in the description. Check the links. I want to see you achieve your goals. Don't let procrastination hold you back. You are capable, you are worthy, and the goal that you want to do, it matters. So work on it for the rest of the year and get it done. Thanks for listening, friends, and we'll chat soon.